Hi, Roy Gatling for AmazingLeadership.com. So, leadership and management. Is there a difference between these two? Do these words mean something different? Well, my answer is yes and no. Clearly, there's two different approaches or philosophies around these words. So what's driven this? Well, in the 1980s, business began to experience an accelerated rate of change. And along with the changes in the business climate, we also began to see change in the workforce, from labor to knowledge workers. And these two changes drove a third, which was the belief that companies needed something more than just typical management. They needed real leadership. So let's contrast these two words, talk a little bit about each one of these. Traditional management is really about directing, and it also tends to seek out a direction and then follow it, and then make sure that an organization is implementing a process and delivering to goals, making sure those are done in a measurable way. Management also seeks to minimize downside risk. Bottom line, get the job done. Leadership is less about directing and more about influencing and empowering. Leadership either seeks to create a vision or is rallying the organization around a vision, allowing that group to bring its energy, its creativity, to deliver to that vision. It's not so much about minimizing downside risk, but maximizing the upside. And leadership is also about bringing others along, in essence, creating other leaders. So what do amazing leaders do? Well, they do both. Look, I've seen organizations that have been overled and undermanaged and vice versa. And while you can try to do one without the other, you really won't get the best results. So let's look at 5 must-dos that I believe every amazing leader should implement. Number 1, create a vision. Vision is key. Vision leads the leader. If you don't know where you're going, well, you can end up anywhere, as many people say. What vision is about is laying out the context, a map, if you will, for the organization. Again, so they can rally around this. They know what we're attempting to get to. The goal is there. It's not laying out specifics as to what people do, because again, leaders empower. So you want to bring that energy, that talent, that creativity, to this vision, to this way of achieving the vision, because the way that your organization may achieve it could be far different from the way that you would. But that's okay, as long as we accomplish what's set out in this vision. So how do you create a vision? How do you go about doing this? Well, the only way I know, I think it's proven to work, is by observing what's not working. You've got to get out of the office, out of the cubicle, and you've got to talk to people. Observe what's going on. See what's working, what's not. Talk to your customers. Boy, they'll give you a lot of information on this. And then challenge the status quo. Don't accept it. If it's not working well, if it's not efficient, it's not effective, look to change it. That's how you go about creating your vision. And then develop a story. Stories are what really move an organization. And you've got to bring some emotion to this, honestly. Because just laying out facts and figures don't really get people too excited. But giving them a vision, a real idea as to where you're headed and why, and this is really important, they need to understand why, will enable you to get that organization fired up and moving toward that vision. Number 2, prioritize. Now this is all about focus. You've got to have the discipline to focus in order to accomplish that vision. At Dell, every year we had new priorities, and it was always limited to 3, 4, 5. It would fit on one hand. It was easy to remember. I can remember 3 things pretty easily, even 5 if it's a good day for me. But they were big priorities. They were key priorities. And what that did was, again, help to focus the organization, make sure that we were all pulling in the same direction toward the same goals. Now, that didn't mean that we stopped doing the things that we all had to do day to day, but everything that we did, we tried to make sure that we were aligned toward those priorities so that we could achieve them. Number 3, Communicate, communicate, communicate. I mean, this seems intuitive, but boy, let me tell you, some people don't really fully grasp the importance of communicating. You've got to communicate your vision and those priorities. And the thing is that many people rely on email these days to do that. That's a poor substitute. Can you use email? Sure, sometimes, but you got to be selective. You need to get in front of your organization. They need to see you. They need to look in your eyes. They want to see that you're on fire regarding your vision, regarding these priorities. And you need to look into their eyes. You need to see that they're getting it and that they're buying in. And you need to do this regularly. You've got to keep driving the message home and then keep them updated. Look, and you not only talk to your organization, but talk to your customers. Let them know what your vision, what your priorities are, and how you're doing. Find out what theirs is. See how you can work together. All of a sudden, opportunities begin to open up. I guarantee you this will happen. But again, get out in front of people. Use email very selectively. Updates, it's okay for that. But I suggest getting in front of folks and making sure that they get it, they understand it, and if there's any question at all, address it. All right, number 4, you need to measure and review. Now, once you've developed your vision and you've got your priorities and you've communicated them, now you've got to let the organization go out and begin to work, begin to drive toward that vision. But you need to stop every once in a while and check. I know you've got a great organization, you've got fantastic people, but you still have to stop once in a while, measure. Just do a check here. What some call trust, but verify. We had regular reviews at Dell. Sometimes we had VPs that were a little far down in the weeds, in my opinion. But then, again, we had others that never got into the details. Just as I alluded to earlier, you really need to do both. You need to take some time to make sure that you're making progress. And if there are some course corrections that need to be made, okay, you can do it there. But make sure that you're taking the time to check on progress and then communicate that progress broadly. Number 5. Acknowledge. Now that you've created your vision, you've set priorities, you're communicating, and you're doing some reviews, you need to acknowledge what people are doing. The organization is working toward that vision and those priorities, so let them know how they're doing, not only in the review, but outside of that as well. If they're doing right, if they're on the right course, they're doing what you would hope they would, how about a thank you? And you can do that in a lot of ways. Sometimes just simple as saying it goes a long way. But there are a number of ways to say thank you. And even if they're not getting it quite right, all right, nudge them into the right direction, right? Give them a little course correction here. But be encouraging. It's really easy to be critical. It's really easy to push people down. That's not what amazing leaders do. Lift them up, and they will do incredible things for you. So say thanks, and also try to have a little fun. All work and no play basically stinks. Have some fun. Acknowledge your people. Make sure they're on the right track. Get out front and communicate. Make sure they understand what all the priorities are and get to that vision. Thanks for listening. Well, here's my standard message at the end of every podcast, and that is, I'm on a quest to reach 1 million new and aspiring leaders around the world by September 2010. And the only way I can do that is with your help. So my question is, will you help me? If you find this information helpful, would you please let 10 of your coworkers, your family, your friends know about amazingleadership.com? Have them come to the site, join the forums, read the blogs, but participate. Participation is really key. So thanks so much. See you on the next one.